Hey everyone, welcome back to the Privacy Guy. Today I want to discuss privacy tips that Edward Snowden has commonly shared. So for those of you who don't know, if you've been living under a rock or something, Edward Snowden worked for the NSA and was the whistleblower who kind of exposed a lot of the government surveillance that was going on kind of through the internet. And he has kind of become an icon in the privacy community just because without his whistleblowing, we might not even know that the government has these surveillance programs, and that we need to kind of take privacy seriously, both from private companies like Facebook and Google, and from the government, from government agencies like the NSA, CIA, whoever. But basically, I want to share 6 tips that Edward Snowden commonly shares. I'll just run through them right now, and then I'll go into detail for each one. So the first one is encrypting your phone calls and text messages with an app like Signal. 2 is encrypting the hard drive of your computer. 3 is using a password manager. 4, using two-factor authentication. 5, it's a little more advanced, use Tor. 6 is create a threat model that fits your needs and lifestyle. And then number 7, which is kind of a bonus, I guess, is just think about operational security, or OpSec. So I guess I'll just go ahead and dive into them. So first one, encrypt your phone calls and text messages with Signal. Or I know there's other apps that allow you to communicate privately with end-to-end encryption, but Signal is kind of the, one that the go-to, I guess. It's the industry standard. It is open source, so there's not any sketchy behind-the-scenes stuff going on. But it allows you to make phone calls. It allows you to send text messages, all that are end-to-end encrypted. So the only people that can view the contents of your messages or listen in on your phone calls are you and the person that you're calling or texting or sending a message to. And this is important because if you use something like Facebook Messenger, God forbid, you're potentially sharing the contents of your message with Facebook, with a third party. And then that creates more risk because if Facebook gets hacked, the contents of your messages could potentially be made public. And if you're concerned about government agencies monitoring your communications, something like Signal doesn't have a backdoor that allows government agencies to break their encryption or view people's messages. It's all open source, so this has been verified. Signal is a great tool. I recommend you just downloading it and trying it out. Just give it a shot. It's free. It's user-friendly. Signal's great. Next up is encrypting the hard drive of your computer. Windows offers this kind of as a feature in your settings, and I believe Macs do as well. But basically the idea here is that if you encrypt all the files on your computer, if you encrypt your hard drive, if someone steals your computer, they won't be able to access your photos, your private information stored on your computer, any financial or sensitive documents you have stored. All that stuff will be protected by the encryption algorithm that your computer uses. So this is pretty important, especially if you're in college, or maybe work at a job that where is in a co-working space and your laptop could potentially be stolen. It's just something to think about. It's a simple step that doesn't really affect the user experience of your computer, so you're not going to have to log in every time to some encryption portal or something. It's just set up so that when you log into your computer, you're viewing your files encrypted in an encrypted way. So someone can't just pull out the hard drive of your computer, stick it in their computer, and then view all your files. So something important, quick and easy. A quick search online can show you how to do it. It's really simple. Next up is use a password manager. I've made specific videos about this, but basically the idea here is that if you use a password manager, you're going to be more likely to use strong, unique passwords for all of your online accounts or all your devices. Basically, with a password manager, you can generate long, complicated passwords that are hard to guess, and you're going to use unique passwords for each one if you know that you don't have to remember it. And I think this is kind of a common misconception when people hear that it's like best practice to use unique passwords across all of their accounts. That seems overwhelming because, if you think about it, you have your social media accounts, your bank accounts, your email accounts, accounts for work, all that stuff. You have a ton of passwords to remember. And a password manager just keeps them all in one place, uses an encryption method that makes it so if someone gets your device, they can't just go look at your password folder. So that's why using something like your Notes app or something is a little worse, because the contents of those notes aren't encrypted. So if someone gets a hold of your device, they would have all your passwords. But with a password manager, you probably need a master password, and then can use something like two-factor authentication to prevent unwanted use. So password manager, I'll drop a link in the description to my videos about password managers. I think they're valuable tools for anyone who's concerned about privacy and security on their devices. Next up, use two-factor authentication. I've made videos about this too, but basically what it is if you log into an account on the internet and you type in the password and you click login, it's going to send a code to, say, your cell phone number or your email address, and then you'll be required to enter that code into the login portal before you can access your account. So this basically adds a second step so that if someone does get your password, if your password's compromised in a data leak or a hack or something, people will still have to get access to this code on your phone or your email, and that just makes it more difficult to get your accounts hacked. Something like your Facebook account, something like your email account, bank accounts, this is all really important, because if someone gets access to your email, they might have access to other information, other personal information. If someone has access to, say, your social media accounts, they can post for you and harm your reputation. So it's one thing to think about. Two-factor authentication is just a quick code that gets sent to your phone. It's just an extra security step, but it's valuable. It pays a lot. The ROI is a lot for the few extra seconds it might take to log in. Next up, and even Edward Snowden himself kind of admits that this one's a little more advanced. So if you're not like a super tech savvy person, this one can be a little overwhelming. But his recommendation is to use Tor. And what Tor is, it's TOR, stands for the onion router, but it's similar to a VPN in that it allows you to kind of separate your browsing from your IP address. So the difference between Tor and VPNs is that rather than having your browsing and your IP address and then all that data flow through the VPN, Tor is like a network of volunteer like endpoints, so that rather than connecting all through one VPN, it connects to random IP addresses that are volunteer hosted. So there's not as much of a chance that you're going to leak your IP, not as much as a chance that you're relying on the VPN to protect your browsing, because there have been issues with VPNs in the past where they've leaked people's IP addresses, or the encryption on the basic tunnel kind of idea that your data is flowing through breaks, and then the websites you visit, the sensitive data you're sending could potentially be linked back to your local IP address and then to you personally. So Tor, even Edward Snowden says this one is important for people who are dealing with sensitive information, who are might be in a country that has harsh punishments for viewing certain content or sending certain content. journalists, people like that, it's important to use Tor because it protects them and keeps them separate from their IP address. So it doesn't allow linking back to your identity or your location or any of that stuff. So that's Tor. It's free, it's open source. You can go online and search for it and find it. The Tor project, it's all about protecting privacy and decentralizing any flow of data to your device and to the people you're communicating with. Next up is create a threat model. And basically what a threat model is it looks at the data you're protecting. So maybe it's your bank account information, maybe it's your emails. It takes all of that into consideration, and then it decides what's the most important to protect. How serious are you about privacy? Do you care if Facebook is collecting your browsing information? Do you care if Google is collecting your browsing information? And then it sets up basically a system. So you look at what you want to protect, and then you put tools in place that actually protect that information. And basically this just kind of gives you a frame for what you need when you're looking for privacy tools. Because if you don't care about any of your information getting leaked or hacked or monitored by the government or government agencies, you don't really need to take measures to protect your privacy. But if you do take that stuff seriously, if you are concerned about surveillance from private companies, from government agencies, you might need a few tools like a VPN or like a tool like Signal that allows you to communicate with end-to-end encryption. It just puts everything in perspective, and then make sure that you're protecting what you actually care about, what you want to protect. And then the final one, which kind of ties into the threat model, is think about OpSec, operational security. It's kind of a military term that's worked its way into the cybersecurity realm. But basically what it is, it's like a risk management process that looks at all the information you have. It's very similar to the threat model, but then it looks at it from the perspective of a hacker, of an adversary, of a competitor, and it decides what's most important to protect. So if you're just a normal person and you use the internet for banking or something, that might be the most important thing for you as far as protecting your privacy. But if you're a journalist and you're dealing with confidential sources that need to stay protected, or let's say you're working for a company that your competitors would benefit from having certain proprietary information, you need to protect that data. It's very important. It's potentially worth millions of dollars. And if I'm a competitor, I'm going to want that information. So there's a lot of value there. So basically what operational security does is it looks at what's important, looks at that information, and decides how you can best protect it. And that can be from an individual standpoint for you protecting your personal information, or it could be from a company standpoint, you protecting your information at your work from the competitors or hackers or whoever. Or if you're a public person like a politician and you need to keep your communications private, you want to keep your location information hidden, you will then take the appropriate steps to protect that information. So those are Edward Snowden's privacy tips. I'm sure he has quite a few more that he's discussed, but these are kind of the main ones that seem to come up a lot in most of his interviews. So I hope this was valuable. I'll be sure to list these out in the description so you can check the timestamps and see, kind of click back and view the ones that are most important to you. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos this week. I have a few exciting ones coming. So thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon.